In the words of the late George Carlin, BS is the glue that binds us together as a nation. Here comes a ton of it. It's time for BSing with Big Nate.
That was Vini VIcious with Blue right here on BS and with Big Nate, which is going international today. That is right, all the way from Tel Aviv. Through the power of technology, I am joined by Tal and Johnny. Aloha, gentlemen.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you so very much for joining me. First, let's go ahead and get background on both of you and your roles in the music world, as it were.
Well, Tal is the bass player and the musical genius of the band, and I'm the lead singer, the guitarist, and the hook machine of the band.
So
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. So I want to point something out there. You never, ever hear that much love for the bassist in a lot of bands. So I really appreciate that as someone who, I mean, when I do play music, I play the bass, and I would never call myself a musical genius. I can plod along, I can keep things going as long as they stay like punk. But so it's nice to hear bassists getting some love. So your track Blue, let's talk about that. It was written, conceived, 6 years ago or so, or back?
Maybe a little less.
A little less, about 5 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago.
So, and why is it coming out now in 2020?
We really waited for COVID-19 since we planned it all with COVID-19 and didn't come out on time, so we had to wait for COVID. Well, actually, it's one of those things. I think it happens to anyone, any artist in any field, that you play around with it and you have this thing, and even when you finish it, it's never done, and you just revise and revise, and then you just leave it and you just throw it in some corner, and then you just forget about it. And then it comes back to you, and then it never lets you go. So that's kind of what happened with Blue, and we finished the song a couple of years ago, actually, 2.5 years ago. We finished the song, and it never felt good. And we just redid the song in the last 6 months since we recorded an album, and we have an album coming out and many singles coming out. So we decided to do Blue first of all, because it felt like we had an open tab with it.
Yeah, we had to do something about it.
And that's basically what happened. It resulted in something that's, in our humble and very objective opinion, very beautiful and beautiful song, and very something that feels complete. We're proud of it.
I agree with you. It's beautiful. I was sitting in the beach house when I got the email from you, and of course, in the middle of vacation, checking a work email, just oddly enough, and I played the track, and I was like, "Oh my God, they're on to something!" Immediately ran up to the kitchen of the beach house, played it for my wife. She's like, "Oh my God, they are on to something!" So, killer track. It immediately interrupted our beach vacation, which was awesome, and. So you guys have teased a video on social media for the track. Is that something that's coming? What's the expectation there?
It's coming. It's also the video. Ironically, we were planning a huge. I don't know even how to say it. We call it a huge storm of releases. We were planning to release a single every month and a half or so, and we did the video for Blue as well. And then, obviously, pandemic and stuff happened. But the reason that the video didn't come out, and the next single, which is already complete and ready and coming out, is actually we're signing a local distribution deal right in Israel, and they asked us to halt it, and because they want to distribute it themselves, obviously, and not the band. So we kind of pressed pause on it. But I think within the next week we'll definitely know what happens with it, and we'll release the video.
It's coming, baby. It's coming along. Yeah. It's on its way.
And the next single, of course. Well,
I mean, I'll gladly wait patiently, and that's pretty awesome. You got that local distribution. But I mean, obviously you've got a slew of singles and everything with COVID-19, and this has been just, I don't want to call it a lost year because there's been a lot of positives that come out of it. Like for instance, I'm talking to an awesome band out of Israel.
Oh,
but it's made things really tricky from a music standpoint. So let's go back to the beginning of 2020 before all this really kind of took hold. What were your plans and expectations for the year? And how have those shifted now?
I mean, in a way, we've gone through all sorts of different permutations in the band. We've had 5 different drummers in this band, like Nirvana, and we've been through a lot, and we've been a band for almost 6 years now, almost as long as you've been on there doing this thing, right? So we've been through a lot, and our musical style has kind of changed through the times. We've become a little different. We're more like the grunge band, and 90s grunge meets something else. I don't know.
I always say there's like elements of shoegaze.
Yeah, there's some of that, especially in group.
Yeah. I mean that's what immediately hooked me. Is there's that it's very, I don't want to say subdued, but it's just all very subtle. It's not overstated. Like, I mean, you mentioned the 90s. That was kind of the peak, the death of glam rock.
Yeah.
To me is probably one of the worst things to happen to rock music. But you've captured a feeling that's very ethereal. Like, it's almost cinematic. Like, it would fit in a movie, I think. But I interrupted you.
When I'm walking down the street with Blue in my headphones, that's the exact same feeling. You have that situation in your life all the time that you listen to music you like, and you're walking on the street, and you feel like you're in a movie. And this movie, and this is the scene when you're listening to the song, and you're like, yeah, I love this scene. So that's the feeling I got with Blue as well. Putting in my headphones and walking around Tel Aviv all the time with it. And he said, yeah, very, very ethereal. I think it kind of exactly the feeling I was aiming, at least when I wrote the song initially. I was aiming probably for, I never want to explain, I never want the listener to feel or understand exactly what I meant, because that's my person. I want them to embrace it and let the music and the art reflect on their life, help them connect to their own situation, their own thoughts, their own feelings. Yeah. And what you said was exactly what exactly the big aim of that song. Like, you listen to it and you say, there's something here. I'm gonna go and play it to my wife for a second. We're on vacation. We played it.
Yeah, you really got it, man. You really got it.
Yeah,
that really makes us happy, to hear that. So,
no, like I said, I was thrilled to receive the email. I do want to ask how you've mentioned that you've been through 5 or 6 drummers.
Yeah.
How did Vini VIcious start?
So it started back in 2013, 14.
Yeah. Started very romantically with 2 guys sitting. Our there was another guitar player right there. It started with 2 guys writing songs in a room together, and it just slowly, steadily rolled, and until we got, going through 5 drummers is obviously not an easy thing, or going through 5 musicians in your band and replacing them. But it just went better, because we're aiming to go higher and better all the time, and you can't get stuck on that high school band kind of feeling, Yeah, we're chilling and playing some music, guys. Yeah, it's fun. No, because if you're serious and you want to do some music, you're really serious about it, you have to have serious people around you. You have to have a good team with you.
Yeah.
And
I think it's that way with a lot of creative facets of life. Is there has to be a certain evolution and a growth, and I think it's all about finding, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, finding the pieces that fit together the way they're supposed to. Because you can sit there all day, and that's probably true for any human relationship, as it were. Is you can try and force the piece, but it's never going to work. But I think right now you guys have captured something that's going to work. So I got to ask, moving forward, what are the plans as they stand right now? Of course, everything is in flux with COVID-19.
Well, me and Tal, after a few years, recently decided to move in together, so we can work harder and better, and put all of ourselves into this thing. And well, the plans are just to continue. We're kind of where COVID-19 kind of stopped us, which was we have an album. Half of it is ready, half is in the works, because we kind of wanted to release a single each time with a video, just like we did with Blue. And afterwards, there were always, of course, plans for a tour. Europe is close to us. We really wanted to tour Europe, just hop in a van and do some dates anywhere we can book shows. But
at some friends' houses, do some stuff, yeah.
The whole shebang, yeah. But obviously that's stopped right now, and everyone's kind of investing their time in releasing, in releasing. You have to be, if you can't be there live, you have to be there digitally. So I think we'll focus mainly just on releasing the album and continue to release the music, and just live through this COVID-19 storm that we're in. Because it's, I don't want to make plans. I really want to make plans right now. Like say February next year, I'm going to be here and here, and we're going to do this and this. And then eventually, we'll find ourselves sitting right here in February and saying, okay, COVID, still here. Okay. So I can't really say.
To me, as someone who likes to plan ahead, that's been the most infuriating part about all of this is the,
Yeah.
I mean, I still go ahead and plan for everything like it's going to proceed, because that's how you should do it. I think it is be ready. And then when it doesn't happen, it's a whole lot easier to cancel than to have not planned for it at all. But
Yeah.
I do wonder, of course, I've got the perspective from the state I live in America, and the way we've handled things. I do wonder how it's handled abroad. So we'll sidestep the music just a little bit for a second. How did everything proceed there? Like, did you guys ever end up in a full lockdown or anything like that?
Yeah. We had one actual lockdown, that lasted like a month.
2 months.
2 months? Was 2 months? Yeah. It's been a while.
That was a full lockdown.
And it was pretty tough. I mean, people went insane just like they do anywhere else when they're in lockdown. Apart from that, it's not being that bad. I mean, you have to wear a mask in the street, and you need to kind of watch out for coughing people, I guess. But apart from that, I mean, it's not that bad.
We actually handled it pretty well, I think, in the first round. But eventually, what happens is we kind of the criticism basically here right now, except we'll not go too deep into politics right now and just talk about COVID, because there's also big political turmoil in Israel right now. But basically, I think, the main criticism is that the government let go of the lockdown a bit too early, and now we have a second wave. And relatively to other countries in the world right now, our second wave is pretty serious. There's a lot of people getting infected, not a lot of deaths, but a lot of infections. And we're kind of, again, stuck in the middle. They're talking about another lockdown within a month tops. Others criticizing that the lockdown didn't really work last time. So it's kind of, we're hanging in the middle. A lot of shows were booked, like you said, plan ahead. A lot of our friends planned shows and booked shows, and we had like about 3 weeks of shows, and I saw 2 shows and it was great. And then just July started and bang, no shows. Everything is all done again. So that's kind of the situation with this thing right here in Israel.
Well, I'm hoping we can get out of it sooner rather than later. Of course, I think we're kind of in a similar place here in the States. And I think a lot of it comes from the human nature of it all, where we're social creatures. We want to interact with each other. Even the most misanthropic and antisocial people still, to a certain degree, want those creature comforts of being around other people.
Of course.
And I think we may be prematurely moving towards that. I mean, we definitely are here, but as a world. But I'm hoping that we can be done with this before the end of 2020 and not rolling around to February, as you said. But
I really hope so.
That's a distinct possibility. So it's very important to me that we get this next question, we get this taken care of. Is in COVID-19 and everything, the internet's become much more important. Where can Vini VIcious be found on the internet?
Well, pretty much everywhere, man. I mean, you can find us on Spotify, on YouTube, on Deezer, Apple Music, all the platforms.
Facebook, Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram, for sure. We have a very live Instagram right now that we have less to do, basically. And you can check us out pretty much anywhere. Vini VIcious.
All releases, mostly obviously most of the time goes into, these days, goes into Instagram and a bit less into Facebook. Those are our main platforms. But the music is released on all streaming platforms and YouTube. And it's kind of easy. Vini VIcious. And
Vini VIcious, real easy to find. And be sure to give him some love. Of course, we heard Blue at the beginning of this. And once this all gets done, we'll have some new Vini VIcious, hopefully sooner rather than later. I've, of course, been chatting with Tal and Johnny. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
See you.
Are you sick and tired of using those cheap, smelly blue masks? They always seem to break, and no matter what you try to do and fix it, it just doesn't work. Plus, they look horrendous, and they never fit quite right.
There's gotta be a better mask!
Now there is! Introducing the new limited edition 105.3 The Bear Mask. This 2-ply eco-friendly face cover is washable and reusable. And the best part about the new 105.3 The Bear Mask is that 100% of the proceeds benefit the Southwest Virginia COVID-19 response force. Get your new limited edition 105.3 The Bear Mask today.